Have you been watching Netflix lately?
I have. I'm through, I think, 4 episodes, maybe even 5. Of course, we're talking about Netflix's new Receiver series, kind of the sequel to it's pretty much the direct sequel to last year's quarterback series. This year
we spent a lot of time talking about that.
Yeah, we did.
Last year, kind of as we kind of got up and running as a podcast.
Yeah. It was like the biggest news story once we first started the podcast. Yep. Of course, quarterback last year followed Pat Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, and then
Kirk Cousins.
QB1 at the time, Kirk Cousins for the Vikings. And it really changed, I think, a lot of people's opinion in the best way possible on Kirk Cousins. He gained a lot of fans. And then, he got injured, and then he just left the team, and he may have lost a few fans after that. But I'd say quarterback was really good. For me, I'd give it like a 8.0 out of 10 as far as like a fun football-oriented show to watch. I don't know how I feel about Receiver. What do you think so far?
I'm 2 episodes in, so I'm a little behind you.
Okay.
I will tell you, I was really disappointed that the first episode didn't feature Justin Jefferson at all.
Yeah.
Like I said out loud as my wife and I were watching it, like, I'm mad right now. Where was he? He's a featured athlete in the show. He wasn't featured at all.
Yeah.
In the episode, it was mostly George Kittle in that first episode, if I remember right.
And like I told you, I like George Kittle. He's a hot guy. I think we're entertained by George Kittle. He seems like a good dude. A little kind of crazy a little bit every once in a while.
Fun fact: he went to Cedar Falls High School for like a year.
Wow. Okay. Cedar Falls, famously the home of our alma mater, Northern Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, interesting little fact.
Nice.
I don't think he graduated from there,
okay,
but he went there for a time.
Okay.
Anyways. But yeah, all in all, I've been disappointed 2 episodes in. Obviously, I know what's coming because Justin Jefferson got hurt, and I know that was kind of the main storyline for him through the Receivers series, just kind of having read some things and watching the previews and whatnot. You can kind of... You know the ending because we watched the whole season last year of football and saw how it all panned out in real time. And now we're getting kind of the documentaryized. Is that even a word?
Documented?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
The filmed. We're getting the filmed dramatic version of it all, and we're getting, the parallel storylines of Kittle and Devante Adams and Amon Ra St. alongside of our favorite player. So all in all, disappointed that he wasn't as featured as much so far. I don't know if that changes in episodes 3, 4, 5.
He gets in it a little bit more, but episode 2 is definitely, so far from what I've seen, the most he's in.
Okay.
But I think one issue is there's 8 episodes, and they're following George Kittle, 4. Deebo Samuel.
Oh, I forgot about Deebo. They're following 5 guys.
Devante Adams, Amon Ra St. and Justin Jefferson. Now, it is a little different because Kittle and Samuel are both on the same team, so you can kind of double up there a little bit. But they don't really do a lot of that doubling up. You'd think it would be like the 2 of them in every scene together, so it's technically 2, but really just 1. They're kind of featured separately. They do a good job of that. But yeah, so
to me, in the first 2 episodes, the screen time seemed to favor Kittle first. Then it's probably a tie between Devante Adams and Amon Ra St. And maybe if there was a tiebreaker, Devante Adams had slightly more. Because I think he went out in a game pretty early on in the season. And went to the locker room, got a shot or something, and then came back and finished the game. And that was pretty heavily you were brought through the timeline of that whole thing in that episode. I think that was the 2nd episode, maybe.
That might have even been the 3rd. I don't remember.
I haven't made it to 3 yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then it has to have been.
Pretty sure.
I really thought 1 and 2. The first episode was mainly the Niners guys and then Amon Ra. And then
The history behind Amon Ra St. Brown was kind of interesting. Like his dad's a bodybuilder, former bodybuilder, I guess, and just like grew up in this super competitive, like you will be an athlete and you will be successful kind of environment. Like that was kind of eye-opening.
But on the same point, and maybe Netflix just did a really good job of making him not look horrible, but his dad, while it was like, yeah, you are going to be an athlete or whatever, it felt very uplifting and not like whipping not making him only think about sports. Like I think the St. Brown brothers have probably what seems to be good parents. So like
for sure,
supportive and uplifting, but still like pushing in a good way. Like really,
they're a very disciplined family.
In a good way.
A lot of parameters and guidelines that they live inside of, and they try to live a good life that way in all aspects.
So, I mean, the quarterback series, I think we talked a lot last year about how it kind of made us feel like we got to know those three quarterbacks a little bit better. I remember, and maybe this isn't super fair, but I remember coming away from quarterback thinking, man, Mahomes, he's a really good quarterback and he's dedicated, but he's still kind of that, and I don't want this to come off wrong, but I don't know how these words can come off right, but he's still kind of that frat boy. He needs his posse around him, and he's good, so he can back all that up, but he's still kind of like, I'm king of the world, and it just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
And his wife is definitely living in that little bubble too.
And on that other side of that, it's not like they're terrible people, and I don't think they're putting a lot of bad in the world. It just seems like they're too much like you're pretty full of yourself. But again, on the other side of that, how can you not be full of yourself after 3 Super Bowls and a couple MVP? Like he's definitely on top of the mountain.
Yep.
And then Marcus Mariota, and this is the nature of the season he had, kind of seemed pretty like all about me, kind of. I don't know.
But in a different way than Patrick Mahomes, like in a I'm looking out for what's best for me, not for my teammates, not for the franchise, but like for me.
Yeah.
And
it seemed, the NFL was his job, and again, this might not be fair because he was going through a season of where he was about to have his first child, and he and his wife were going to have their first child, and he went through a pretty significant injury that he had to decide for himself if he was going to have a surgery. So it did kind of come across like he was not making decisions that would benefit him and everybody else, but really just him and his family, which on the other side, hard to knock. I probably make most decisions to benefit just me and my family. But he did kind of come across a little self-centered in that way.
And then you have Kirk Cousins, who was kind of the shining star of the series last season. And, he's kind of the ultimate dad, and he gets mocked for that sometimes, driving the goofy conversion vans and showing up in khakis and a plaid flannel whatever, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a fanny pack or something. But like he came across very wholesome, and nobody's perfect, nobody's like squeaky clean. But man, Kirk Cousins is about as close as you can get. And in the NFL for sure.
And a lot of people loved that. And I think there was even a joking commercial about Packers fans all watching Netflix or the quarterback on, and I just love Kirk Cousins so much. But maybe some people have different opinions now after the whole free agency stuff went down, and he may come across as a money grabber going to Atlanta, but none of us know all the details, and it's hard to defend or criticize him just for that. But in that series, that's kind of how they made them be portrayed, and I think the receiver series is kind of doing that a little bit similar, just to be very high and not dive in it too deep. I'm getting the sense from this series, Kittle, he's kind of what we all thought he was, just it seems more authentic. He seems like a fun guy, and not the word party guy kind of comes to me, but
for sure.
Also he seems like a good guy. So it's not just like he's not Gronk. He's not all out. Let's just go rage.
There's that one game. I think it was in one of the first 2 episodes, because they're the only 2 I've watched, where he had 3 touchdowns
on his birthday.
And they get in the party bus, and he's just slamming shotgun and beer after beer on the way back.
But I feel like he'd do that if he was like,
for sure,
a part-time janitor working 2 hours a week somewhere. Like he'd still be, and it seems like not an off-putting personality.
No.
Like, maybe I wouldn't join him on all that stuff, but I wouldn't, not go give him a high five if I had the opportunity,
Sure.
And then Deebo Samuel kind of is coming across as like a good family dude, good competitive athlete. I don't know. He seems to be kind of a pretty chill, normal, good dude that doesn't seem super full of himself, but still, I don't know. I'm not getting a whole ton of his personality about him through the show. Devante Adams, to me, is coming across a little
diva-ish.
Yeah, like I just watched an episode today where the famous quote from last year was, "I don't judge things on wins and losses. I judge them on greatness." Like, and he definitely, that seems like the opposite way that quote should go. It should be, "I don't care about my stats. It should be all about the wins and losses." But, Adams literally said the opposite. So he's kind of coming across as like that diva type. Again, I don't know this guy, so it's hard to say he's a diva, but it's kind of how he's coming across.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson, to me,
he seems like a homebody almost. Like,
yeah.
If he's not at the facility, he's locked inside his little condo playing video games. His personal chef is cooking for him, and he's eating candy. Like,
well, but that's the thing too. Initially, I was kind of like, man, like, this kid he seems like a kid.
He seems like a kid.
He seems like still a college kid. He wasn't like nasty or anything. He wasn't rude, but it was very much like, "Hey, look, I'm on TV. Like, check out this commercial." And he seemed, again, not mean or rude or horrible or anything, but just still like, oh, he's still 23? Like,
yep.
I guess, yeah, he is a 23, 24-year-old kid. But I have seen, if you go on to future episodes, I think that hamstring injury, I think that kind of turned things around a little bit because he had to, and I'm sure he was a good leader before that and learning how to do that. But anything we've heard about him lately, and yeah, he's still only a 24-year-old kid.
He's 25,
but he's been through some stuff injury wise. Like, he's and he's seen and felt what it's like to not be able to be that on the field leader. And I just watched an episode today where he was pumping Jordan Addison up during the 49ers Monday night game last year and saying, like, "We need you. Like, trust Kirk. He's going to hit you. Like, you got to trust Kirk," and like being that leader on the side. And seeing him go through the recovery, he seems like he's growing up a lot and really turning into that captain and less of the 22, 23, 24-year-old kid. Like, I think in the grand scheme of things, this injury that he suffered last year and being away from the game, it's going to be a net positive for him. It definitely helped him grow.
And maybe the lack of focus on him in the Netflix series will actually benefit him down the line too, rather than getting all kind of starstruck and trying to please the camera. He's like, "All right, that was great. I've had a good first 4 seasons now in a Vikings uniform, and I just signed that big contract. Let's go out and earn that paycheck, and let's see if we can bring this franchise closer, if not to the promised land."
Yeah, I really do get the sense, and again, this could all be good editing, this could just me having purple colored sunglasses on, but I really do get the sense he is, and he's getting older. Anybody is going to mature when they get older. That last season turned him from a good superstar player to a superstar leader, and he's going to take ownership of that Viking logo and be the face of the franchise, the face of the NFL. Like, he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. And really everything we've seen since, that first episode was taped when he was showing off his candy and, getting excited about commercials and stuff. And maybe he still loves candy. Like, that's fine. Go love candy and be excited about a commercial. I'd be super pumped if I saw myself on national commercials, But it seems like he knows where the focus should be, and he's going to be better for it.